Before we jump into today's video, don't forget to scoop up something to munch on at rrgsnacks.com, our online concession stand that has an assortment of beef and bacon jerky, watermelon licorice, and cookies and cream popcorn. Marjorie Harvey is constantly styling and profiling, and she has elevated her hubby Steve Harvey's wardrobe throughout the years. But having a flashy and expensive wardrobe isn't enough for people to embrace Marjorie. In fact, a lot of people simply can't stand this woman. Part of the reason is due to her past.
And I intercepted the phone call, and Marjorie, his present wife, was on the phone. That was when I realized that it had really crossed over into something else.
To dive really deep into this story, we have to give you some of the juicy background information. To start, Marjorie was born in Memphis on October 10, 1964, so yes, she's a Libra. According to sources, as an 18-year-old college student, she was getting her back blown out by a big-time substance dealer named Jim Townsend. Jim was married at the time, and he told Unwind with Tasha K that after finding out the truth, Marjorie continued seeing him because she was too far gone by that point. So it appears that she has a pattern of being linked to married men, but we'll get into that in a bit. Okay, now back to this story. Jim told her he didn't want any children because he already had 3 children out of wedlock. Jim said Marjorie was supposed to be on birth control pills, but she eventually stopped taking them without telling him. And surprise, surprise, she got pregnant. At some point, Jim was being investigated by the feds for running a smuggling ring and moving kilos of narcotics across the U.S. Jim told Radar Online that after the authorities told him they had substantial evidence against his brother and Marjorie, who was pregnant with their second child at the time, he decided to cop a plea deal so Marjorie and his brother wouldn't get indicted. Jim was sentenced to life in prison. Less than 5 years into his sentence, Marjorie moved on, although she and Jim remained in contact. Meanwhile, Steve married a woman named Marcia in 1981, and they welcomed 3 children, twin girls Brandy and Carly, and a son named Broderick. According to Essence magazine, Marjorie attended one of Steve's Memphis stand-up shows in 1990. She arrived late, and as she walked to her seat, Steve was in awe and could barely speak. He finally said,
"I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her."
Marjorie said they started dating, and she knew he was the one. However, Steve suddenly ghosted her. Probably because, he was still married to someone else at the time. So Marjorie moved on with another substance dealer named Donnell Woods, and they welcomed their daughter Lori in January 1997. Marjorie and Donnell got married a few years later, and this was around the same time the FBI started investigating Donnell and his family's substance operation. Donnell was eventually sentenced to 37 months in the federal pen. And, well, Marjorie decided she was done with that situation. They got divorced in 2001, and she started getting her cheeks clapped by Steve's bodyguard, William Big Boom Freeman. On his now-defunct website, Big Boom described himself as a former pimp who preyed on women to gain a sense of power and self. Big Boom has reportedly turned his life around and now writes motivational books for women, including one that's titled, "If You Want Closure in Your Relationship, Start With Your Legs." Yeah, we've linked it for you in the description box. Anyway, things between Marjorie and Big Boom fizzled out. Now, back to Steve. He and Marcia got divorced in 1994, and he moved on with a woman named Mary Shackelford, whom he married in 1996. They welcomed their son Winton in 1997, but their marriage fell apart in 2005, the same year he reconnected with Marjorie. He and Marjorie got married in 2007, and her first husband, Jim, told Radar Online that Steve forced Marjorie to cut off all communication with him a few days after they tied the knot. Now, when people found out this entire backstory, they accused Marjorie of ruining Steve's marriage to Mary. The rumors intensified in 2011 after Steve filed a lawsuit against Mary and said she was the reason he failed to secure a talk show backed by Oprah Winfrey. In response, Mary hopped on YouTube to air him out. In 3 separate videos, Mary called Steve a serial cheater pumpkin eater. Mary claimed Marjorie would even call their marital home.
And I said, how on earth did you get this number? How would you know to even call here? She went into this scenario about she had applied for some position with his suit company and how she was following through on it.
Mary also alleged that Steve left her high and dry when he turned Marjorie from one of his mistresses into his main chick, and that he tried to turn their son against her. After the videos went live, Marjorie called Mary's words malicious and baseless. She added, "As a wife and a mother, I cannot stand back and allow the defamation of my character or actions that will malign my family." Marjorie reportedly hired a lawyer and was gearing up to file a defamation lawsuit against Mary. However, in order to win a defamation lawsuit, you kinda have to prove that the statement made against you was false. And, well, Marjorie never went through with the lawsuit. She would have to sue a whole lot of people, including comedian Tony Rock. In response to Steve writing the relationship advice book called Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, Tony said his third wife was a mistress to his second wife. Whether or not Marjorie was Steve's mistress isn't anyone's business, and the public really shouldn't expect celebrities to be beacons of morality. But either way, the mistress allegations are one of the reasons why a lot of people can't stand her. Oh, and they also aren't pleased with the way she bounced when both of her ex-husbands got locked up. Jim served close to 27 years in prison before President Barack Obama pardoned him in January 2017. He has since written a book about his life, which is set to be released in July 2023. We'll drop a link to it in the description box if you'd like to place a pre-order. A source close to the situation told Radar Online that Marjorie's past is the reason Steve is heavily protected. The source added, "Steve may have a shady past, but it's nothing like the major league guys Marjorie was married to. No wonder he keeps armed guards at his house in Atlanta." During an appearance on Club Shay Shay, Steve said after he and Marjorie became an item, all 7 of their children went bowling. When the children returned home, the girls, including Marjorie's daughters Lori and Morgan, didn't want Steve and Marjorie to get married. According to Steve, the children thought their parents needed more time together before they tied the knot. Of course, Steve and Marjorie ended up getting married anyway, and Steve adopted Marjorie's children. But rumors of drama persisted. According to Radar Online, Marjorie was creating a lot of tension and division in the blended family. After adopting Marjorie's children, an insider stated Steve started showering Marjorie's kids with more love than his own children received. In particular, people have called him out for what they believe to be the preferential treatment he gives to Marjorie's daughter, Lori. If that's not enough, the family allegedly didn't like the way Marjorie ruled the home, and everything was allegedly her way or the highway. Sources also claimed Steve tries to solve a lot of problems by throwing money at Marjorie to make her happy.
That's the new summer collection from all of the top designers.
Which leads us to our next point. In 2019, the Harveys went on a summer vacation abroad. They spent time in yachts, private jets, and hung out with Elton John. Marjorie shared multiple photos on her social media accounts, and the images led many people to start calling her a gold digger. Social media users accused Marjorie of spending all of Steve's savings and breaking Steve's bank account. They also accused her of only being with Steve for his money. Even the strongest person would be annoyed by the constant criticism of the woman they loved, and Steve is no different. He later told Paper Magazine, "In the process of becoming under attack from the internet, in the process of hearing so many lies about yourself, you still have to put that smile on your face and go to work." Marjorie appears to have no limits as to what she'll purchase. In 2019, she showed off a Louis Vuitton airplane bag designed by the late Virgil Abloh. And get this, at the time, the bag had a price tag of $39,000. Some people thought Marjorie was flaunting her wealth. Oh, oops, we mean Steve's wealth. Some called the bag tacky, while others stated the purse was the reason Steve had to work so many jobs. But it doesn't end there. She's been spotted wearing a $17,000 Bottega Veneta dress, and her entire wardrobe, including her handbags and jewelry, is reportedly worth millions of dollars. Before the days of social media, there was a general understanding that wealthy people had more material possessions, better cars, nicer houses, more jewelry, and all of that. But through social media, people now have constant access to materialism and what a complete stranger chooses to spend their money on. According to LendingClub.com, as of January 2023, 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. With this in mind, the fact that the majority of people barely have enough to get by can explain why someone like Marjorie receives a lot of backlash for displaying her wealth. While some argue that Marjorie should be able to post whatever she wants, Sandra Matz, the associate professor of business at Columbia Business School, disagrees. She told CNET.com, "If we know that there's potential backlash of showing off in your social network and it doesn't do much for your own identity, then there's essentially no good reason to do it." And despite what everyone thinks about her, she will continue to live her life unapologetically. If you enjoyed this video, let us know down below. And thanks for watching RRG.